Hey ladies, it's episode 138 of the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast. Today we are talking about principle 5 of intuitive eating, which is feeling your fullness. Can't believe we're like halfway through this principle series. I'm really excited to dive in. Let's go. Welcome to the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast. This is a podcast for women who are ready to ditch diets, ditch the scale, and food guilt forever, and instead invite peace with food, body trust, and confidence in all of your choices. This show will shed some light on sneaky ways diet culture has infiltrated your thoughts, your family, and your well-being. I believe that no matter the episode, you'll walk away feeling informed, inspired, and encouraged. I'm your host, Jennifer D'Amato. I'm a certified intuitive eating counselor, coach, a mom of 4 daughters, a lover of all things pink, and I can't wait to dive into each and every episode with you. Let's dive in now. Now, if you have read the book Intuitive Eating, you might be like, Jen, this is not the 5th principle in the book. Like I said early on, there is no right or wrong order to go through these principles. And when I'm working with a client, I really don't like having any rigidity in the order that we address the principles. You know, for some, like I said before, they really do want to tap into hunger and fullness and really ignite those signals. For some of my clients, we have to start right away with making peace with food. Now, in episodes 136 and 137, we covered a lot of thought work in making peace with food and challenging the food police. I do like to take a little pause from that thought work and go back to feeling into our body. You know, sometimes that thought work can just be a lot, right? And it's kind of like a little bit of a break, even though we're still incorporating those things into our journey of intuitive eating. We can kind of go back and just say, let's just focus on what our body is saying. So that's what we're here to talk about today is feeling fullness. If I had to give the simplest definition of what it means to feel full, I would say it's when you are no longer hungry. In episode 135, we talked about honoring your hunger, and we talked about our body sending us signals that we're hungry. And in the same way, our body sends us signals that we're no longer hungry, that we're comfortably full. There's actually so much science we could talk about. I don't want to get into all of that. There's these enzymes that are released from your intestinal and stomach lining. So there's things that are happening in your body. But what I want to just get the basics of is that your body does send you signals. I know you might be feeling, I don't feel those. Like I'm not noticing those until I'm like really uncomfortable. I'm not noticing comfortably full. I know what stomach upset feels like. I know what stuffed feels like. But I don't know what comfortably full really feels like in my body. You know, and that's really true for, I would say, almost all of the women that I work with. That they know what uncomfortable, upset, stuffed, bloated, just not in a good place after eating, and they desire to know what comfortably full feels like. You might relate to that feeling and these thoughts as well. You may, like those women, feel like you've lost trust with yourself when it comes to knowing you're full. You know, what I love and appreciate about this principle is that it really has very practical application and can improve your overall experience with eating. Not just in your physical body, but I'm talking the entire meal or snack or whenever you're eating experience. Years of dieting, even off and on dieting, can disconnect you from feeling fullness in your body until it reaches, that really uncomfortable place. Your body is built, it's created knowing when you are no longer hungry. And it is possible to reconnect with those signals. And even more important here, it is possible to establish trust with yourself when it comes to eating. So when I say that these principles all together, but when I'm talking here about feeling fullness can improve your overall eating experience, think about that. You're showing up to eat, trusting yourself. Like, I know I'm hungry. I know when I feel done. I feel empowered and I can enjoy what I'm eating. I'm not fearing what I'm eating. I'm not fearing how I'm going to feel after. Oh, I love this. All right. Now, before we dive into more about this principle, I do want to remind you of what I said early on in this series. We do not want to turn intuitive eating into a diet. That whole only eat when you are hungry, stop when you are full. It's not only like too simplified to describe hunger and fullness, but if we set ourselves up to follow this as the guideline, when we don't meet that criteria, when we eat beyond fullness, when we eat when we're not hungry, we're gonna experience guilt, shame, failure, and it really is gonna make it impossible to rebuild trust with yourself. What I think is beautiful and really empowering about intuitive eating is that you can decide how you want to feel physically in your body after eating. I love this. So the question becomes, why don't we feel fullness? Why are we not experiencing, that comfortably full in our body? Why are we only getting to that point of I'm uncomfortable, I'm stuffed? Well, there's a lot of things that can get in the way of us being or staying connected with our body when we're eating. One of the biggest factors that I hear and have experienced is the impact of multitasking while we're eating. We all do it. There is no judgment. And I'm not even saying you have to stop, but if you want to reconnect with your body, it's hard to do if you're always doing something else when you're eating. Now, like I said always. It means sometimes there are times we're going to be, multitasking, doing things. I'm sitting at my desk and, watching a YouTube video, finalizing some edits on a podcast, and I'm having a snack. I'm having something to eat. It's that if we're always doing something when we're eating, it's going to be hard to reconnect. Now, like we talked about in episode 137, the food police can impact our ability to feel and trust our fullness as well. I mentioned the Clear Your Plate Club. This habit that was created usually in early childhood disconnects us from our body's fullness. I mean, think about that. A child feels fullness in their body, usually, their stomach specifically. They might say they're full, but then you were told, right, that they need to continue eating until they're done. Clear your plate. Keep eating. That child, you as that child, thought you were done. Like, wait a minute, my body says I'm done. I'm done. It's the beginning of disconnecting with and questioning your intuitive body. So we can be really distracted. We can have these messages from early on, things we've carried through about, clearing our plate. Another factor that impacts our feeling of fullness is we're actually not really present at all for the meal or snack that we're having. This might include the distractions, from that multitasking, but you have experienced not being present when you can't even remember the taste or the flavors. Maybe you can't even recall what you ate, what you just finished eating. You might use terms like, I scarfed it down or I inhaled it. What this all really means is you probably checked out during the meal or the snack. You were not mindful at all for what you were eating. Now, I believe the years of dieting are to blame here, not you. I feel like that needs repeating. I believe the years of dieting, messages from diet culture, maybe that's people around you, wherever that shows up, is to blame here, not you. How do I know this is true? Let's look at this. When you are dieting and you cheat, that's my air quote word for today, or you just, break from the diet plan. I'm no longer going to do this. I quit, whatever that is. Oftentimes, most of the time, you want to eat those forbidden or restricted foods that you weren't allowing yourself to have. You want to do that quickly. Like, I need to get it in as quickly as possible so I don't have to think about it or feel bad while I'm having it. Like, I'm trying to just avoid all the negative feelings, negative thoughts I'm going to have, get it in as quickly. And of course, we know those negative thoughts and feelings might come after, but we try to get it in so quickly so I don't have to feel guilty while I'm eating it. Now, I don't know if you can see this right now, how important the principles of intuitive eating intertwined with one another are becoming. When we have rejected diet culture, when we've made peace with foods, all foods, when we call out the food police, we can invite a more peaceful and mindful eating experience. We can and will be able to better feel fullness in our body just because we're being more present. If we want to reconnect with our comfortable fullness, whatever that feels like in your body, you're the expert on you. Maybe for you, that means you're noticing taste and it's shifting, as you're getting fuller. You're not feeling as hungry. You have less thoughts about the food, or you feel it physically in your stomach. If you want to reconnect with that comfortable fullness, incorporating more mindfulness in your meal and snack times is what you want to be doing. Now, I think a lot of people hear mindfulness and they think they need to be, in a room alone with the food, no distractions, no one around, spend 30 minutes, eating, chew your food X amount of times. Every time I talk about that, all I can think of is that episode from my childhood of Full House, Danny Tanner. Oh, rest in peace, Bob Saget, my whole heart and my childhood right there. And he talked about, I think they were all complaining because he told them, I think it was like they had to chew their bites of food 24 times and somebody rebelled against that. If you remember that episode, you have to shoot me a DM on Instagram just letting me know. I think that's what people think mindfulness is though, right? Chew your food X amount of times and you're in this solitude place. Let me clear up mindful eating. You can eat mindfully simply by checking in with yourself before, during, and after the meal or the snack that you're having. What you're doing is you're bringing awareness to what your body and your brain are saying. Now, if you want to, you can utilize the Hungerfulness Scale here, or just ask yourself, am I still hungry? Do I want more? That pause, that check-in can be enough to connect with your body and assess what you need at that moment. Now remember, hunger and fullness levels can vary from day to day. It's important to show up without judgment or criticism, but show up with curiosity and an openness just to learning from what your body is trying to tell you. I think so often we get caught up in the I shouldn't, still be hungry. Why not? Why not? Maybe your body's like, hey, you haven't been feeding me enough. I need more. And now that you're listening to it, it's causing that like questioning. All right, show up with a curiosity. I wonder why I'm hungrier today. I'm curious what will happen if I keep eating and continue to be mindful in that experience. Something I invite my clients to think about that I want to extend to you here listening to the podcast is, what if you viewed your mealtime as a form of self-care? Like, I'm not going to drop my mic, but I feel like that one is that mic drop moment. What if that mealtime is time for you? Time to connect with yourself, even if it's just a few times while you're eating. Maybe you could start with one meal a day that has less distractions and just invite that mindfulness. Just see what you notice. You are the expert on you, and you can observe yourself. One last note. For me personally, when I started incorporating this mindfulness into my meal times and viewing that time as self-care, I noticed something. I started enjoying what I was eating more. Now, I do love food, most foods. Just don't put things like kimchi or pickles or mustard near me. But the foods I was eating, I noticed I was enjoying them more. And the opposite actually also became true. I stopped eating foods I didn't really love. Yes, I'm talking to you, baby spinach, rice cakes, plain chicken breast. Yeah, that's who I'm talking to. My entire meal experience, or snack experience sometimes, did change. I actually looked forward to it not as a chore, but as time for me. Now, that took time. That took a lot of mindfulness and a lot of curiosity and being open to allowing my body to talk to me, even if I wasn't sure, okay, is this right? There was a lot of that going on to get to that point. Now, when we talk about shifting that meal experience, it's a great segue into what we'll dive into in the next episode, which is Principle 6, all about discovering, or for you, it might be like me, rediscovering satisfaction. There's a difference between feeling fullness and feeling satisfied, and I can't wait to dive into that. Now, don't forget, there's workbook pages that go along with each of the episodes in the Intuitive Eating series. You can purchase them at any time, and you can go back and listen to episodes. There's the key points. You can go back and take notes for yourself. And of course, do the deep dive questions. Start to get even more curious for yourself about your health journey, where you're headed, how intuitive eating is showing up, and break down some things that maybe have been stuck for a long time. You can purchase that at healthcoachforlife.com/IE workbook. That IE is for intuitive eating, but it's just the letters right there in the website, healthcoachforlife.com/IE workbook, or wherever you're listening to the podcast, it's going to be in the show notes for you. Speaking of show notes, if you click in there and you're looking for full transcripts, you want to get on my email list, or just discover a whole lot more, you can head to my website, healthcoachforlife.com/podcast. You'll have full show notes, full transcripts, and links to everything that I talk about right here on this episode. All right, here's to feeling fullness in your body, rebuilding trust, and reconnecting with yourself. And hey, some self-care when you set some time just for you and that delicious food. All right, I look forward to the next episode next week with you. Hey ladies, have you heard the news? I have an amazing intuitive eating principles series right here on the podcast. And to help you dig deeper into your relationship with food and body, I have created a downloadable workbook that goes right along with the series. This is going to help you dig a little deeper into your own health, your own food story, and eating experience. Included is a weekly release of workbook pages, which will have a summary of key points from the episode, a personal notes section, and here's the most important part, you're going to have bonus reflection questions to go along with each of the episodes. This is going to help you dig a little deeper, understand yourself and your relationship with food and body better. You can purchase this workbook at any time and go through episodes 133 to 143. This workbook that I've created is for someone who is brand new to intuitive eating, just starting to learn. This is also for somebody who has really no idea what intuitive eating is at all. This workbook is also helpful if you have been on the intuitive eating journey and you just want to continue on that and dig a little deeper. Head to healthcoachforlife.com/IE workbook or head into the show notes of any of the episodes from the series.